Welcome everyone to the coaching tip today. A little bit later because my chief cameraman was off working this morning, but he's back now. Back in the garage, the beautiful weather out there, the garden's lovely, but it's quite blowy, so it'd be very hard to pick up my voice in any sort of clarity. Anyway, I wanted to show you the wall, which I've been painting again this morning, so I hope you're impressed that it's getting brighter every day. Until Sunday when we do the draws, I'm going to just reiterate them if you don't mind. So 2 raffles, the coaching one £295 value, 6 1-hour lessons with me, just £5 a ticket, and then the up to £500 shop credit depending on obviously how much we take. Again, £5 a ticket, you can enter one, both, whatever you wish to do. MikeHenningGolf@gmail.com. Just contact me please and I'll give you all the details you need. Golf fact today or question. Again, many of you will know this. Who chipped in against Greg Norman to win the Masters? You may well remember it was a pretty special moment for the winner. I'll give you the answer at the end of this video and we'll see how much you've remembered. Last few videos we've talked about getting the club into a position to hit the ball from, the easiest way to do that. We're going to start today on the first part of the downswing because we can have the best backswing in the world, we can mess everything up if we don't have the right sequence coming down. I think if you ask most tour players what they do from the top of the backswing into impact, it's an instinctive thing. They've been doing it since they were young children. It's like asking somebody how you throw a ball if they've been doing it for most of their life. But there are some exercises which I'll show you over the next few days which will help you have the right sequence and give you more consistency into impact. If you go and buy, again, a load of golf books today, you'll get so much different advice about what initiates the downswing, and you've got to be very careful not to make this too fragmented. It should be a rhythmical and an instinctive movement. If you start breaking into hundreds of little bits, it's really not the way to do business in my opinion. So we're at the top of the backswing. If I can get the full swing in here. We've got the radius of the swing, which we talked about in detail yesterday. So what's the first movement on the way down? Well, if we pull the hands down with no movement, then the radius becomes shorter and we get trapped. Some of the advice in the old books years ago was put a chain on the way down, pull a rope. I don't see any logic to that whatsoever. Another very common bit of advice you'll read or hear if you listen or read golf books is drive the legs. There's no logic to me in that at all. Obviously we have weight transference on the way down, but if we drive the legs laterally forwards, the club gets trapped behind our body, and at some point the body can't continue moving laterally, so the body stops and the hands and arms work on their own. A couple of really common issues we see with coaching from the top of the backswing, or we see the hips spinning back as the first movement. So if you imagine that your left leg has got a stick outside, and I'll show you this in the garden hopefully tomorrow, and you spin backwards, you're working away from that stick, so your weight is obviously going backwards. From the back view, what that will do, if you spin back, is it will deliver the club outside the attack line or across the ball. The other common thing there, which I just showed you, the legs can move too laterally, which I've shown you already. The club gets left behind, that's a really common issue as well. And of course, casting the club, where the club is released early, so we expend all the energy too early. And again, I'll give you exercises over the next few days to work at delivering maximum speed at the right place. Okay? So the sequence on the way down, and I think it was Hogan years ago that came up with this sort of a visualization that there's a piece of string attached from the butt of the club to the left hip pocket, and imagine that piece of string is now taut. Now if I just move my hands down on their own with no movement, that distance would become less and the string would become limp. If I move the hips too early and the club gets lagged behind, that distance increases and the string would break. So what we're trying to do is to move the hips forward, that then pulls the hands and arms down, and as we come into impact area, the hips start to rotate to get out of the way. So it's again not a lateral movement, it's not a rotational movement backwards, it's a mixture of forward movement and rotation to get up the back of the ball. If I do that then from this side, again trying to avoid the light bulb, and I move the correct sequence on the way down, now I can deliver the club from the right angle. The shaft of the club now is parallel to my target line halfway down. So that's the sort of mechanics of it, but I'll give you lots of instinctive exercises over the next few days which will help you get into that position in an easier way than trying to do it in a fragmented fashion. The answer to my question at the beginning, Larry Mize chipped in against Greg Norman in 1987 in the Masters. It was actually a three-way playoff. Seve Ballesteros was in it. He got knocked out on the 10th hole, making a bogey 5 down there. Norman and Mize went on to the 11th hole. I think Norman was just off the green with his second shot and Mize was way to the right of the green, I think about 100 foot away. And of course he famously pitched in from there. Norman obviously missed his putt. It was a long putt anyway. And Norman, probably more than anyone else, has been unlucky in a lot of major tournaments. I think he's won just 2, the British Open twice, but I think also he's come second 8 times, so runner-up 8 times. Anyway, he's had a pretty good career. I think he's worth about $400 million, so he's done all right. Anyway, that's it for today. We may be in the garden tomorrow with these exercises. Have a great day, look after yourselves, and I look forward to speaking to you tomorrow. Take care, bye-bye.